everybody, welcome to Tuesdays with Grace. I'm really excited about this series. It's Tension, Nightmare, Headaches. So we're going to cover 13 episodes, very exciting episodes for me anyway, and I hope very informative for you. And at the end of these series, we're going to have a little quiz to see how well you've been listening, following along, and what you've been learning on tension. So join me for the next 13 weeks. And we're going to eliminate the stress, the strains of tension. But I want to jump in and talk to you first about your setup of your frame, your machine, and you yourself, so that we can make this a little more comfortable, and that will help us with our tension issues on our body and our mind. So when you're setting up your frame and your machine, make sure you're setting your frame up to the right height. You can set it to be positioned that works just right for you. Make sure that you're not setting it up too tall for you, so you have to reach up and you get a lot of stress right here, or it's down too low and you're hunched over. So those are a couple of things that I want you to look at as you're quilting. So free motion quilting is going to be a little different than the automation, and make sure you're adjusting your handles on your machine as well. So most of the machines have extendable handles that you can adjust. So they're adjustable and they will extend out so that you can reach back here by just extending them out. You'll just unclip this right here and pull the handle out this direction, and it will make it a little more comfortable for us height challenged people. And then you can turn it any direction you want. So work on your adjustments, and that will really be the first step into making this a fun, comfortable experience. Let's learn how to fix our tension issues by learning the ins and outs of our machine. It's really important for you to understand how your machine works. So let's find our manual and let's go through it. I'm working on a Qnique 19X. Even if you don't have a Qnique machine, really tension issues can be resolved using the same processes, even if you don't have the same machine as I'm working on. Let's just take a little tour of our machine here. It's kind of fun to explore how your machine works, and once you start to understand how they work together with the bobbin and the upper thread tension, it gets really exciting, and it's something new for you to understand. So we're going back to school here. So right here, you're going from our cone or our thread, and we're coming up through our thread stand. We're going to go through and make sure that we understand what parts of our machine can cause us tension problems. And that's really any component. If it's not threaded correctly, it can give you tension problems. If it's not pulling through correctly, if you don't have it seated in correctly, this is the tension knob right here. It's not going to sew correctly. Going all the way through, up and down, even through the upper thread guide and down into our needle. And we want our needle in nice and straight. Another component that can cause you bad tension is by not having your needle aligned nice and straight, as well as putting it in to our bobbin. And our bobbin goes right down here. We want to make sure that our bobbin case is seated into our hook. It's really important that you hear it snap into place, otherwise it's not locked into place, and that can cause you problems. One of the things we need to remember is really important is to keep our machines free of lint and dust. As it builds up, you need to get rid of this. Get it out of the way, because this buildup can cause tension problems. Either if it's a wheel going up over it time and time again, it breaks down your tracks. If it gets caught into your bobbin case, so clean out this area and just use a brush. Brush it away. Don't use the spray. The air spray, as it's spraying towards this, it's pushing that lint and dust into your machine. So we want to pull it away from it. So don't use the air spray. Just use a little brush and clean it out. And that's all you need to do for that area. But also another place that you might want to work on is the buildup that gets down underneath your needle plate. Right here, unscrew your screws, and I would say do it more than once a year because it can really start to build up. Take it off and clean out all that lint, and you might even find some threads caught up down under there that can get tangled and catch your hook. So make sure you're taking that off and cleaning it out. Clean between the disc, because the lint buildup can build up between those and start to separate, so the tension's not going to be right. And also up here, the disc up here, you also can get thread built up, and sometimes you can get threads that wrap around and get caught. So make sure you're checking and looking for all those little components that can cause you uneven tension and throw your tension off. Once you do that, man, you'll have a better experience as you're quilting. So one other issue on your machine that can cause tension problems is your needle. If it's bent, if you've run over a pin, hey, come on, we're quilters, we're sewers. It's bound to happen one time or another. Even those who've been quilting forever, come on, don't worry about it. It can be overcome by just replacing the needle. You know, if you start to hear the needle having a hard time going through the fabric, it's time to replace it. And don't be afraid, because we have a little tool here that can help you change your needle out. And it has excellent instructions on what you need to do. So as I'm quilting, I always have my tools that I use all the time available, and I have them out so that I can just reach over and grab them to change my needle, change my bobbin, change my foot on my machine. So make sure you have the necessary tools out and available while you're quilting. So let's jump in and let me show you how easy it is to change the needle with this nifty little needle alignment magnet. Okay, it's a magnet, so some people will set it off to the side of their frame because it's pretty small. I have it in the back here, and I'm just pulling out the instructions. Use the instructions, use them, and have them out so that you know what you're looking for as you change your needle. On the needles, sometimes it's hard to tell because they're small and our eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So just look at the anatomy of a needle right here, okay? So it's showing you right here on this needle alignment instruction what the needle looks like. You'll see that there's a side view of it. This right here is called the scarf, and it faces the throat. And this is the throat of the machine. So it's facing towards the back of the machine. All right. And then this one right here, it says this is the groove. There's a slight groove. And unless you get the angle just right as you're looking at the needle, it's really hard for you to see where the groove is. But it's along the front, and that groove actually is really important to the needle and how the thread pulls down. It makes it nice and straight. So they're machined to work with your thread to pull it nice and straight to give you good tension and a nice knot. So let's jump in and change out our needle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my one ready and available, and I'm going to unthread this right here. You want to move your needle up to the highest position possible, and then you'll just take your little flat-headed screwdriver that comes with your machine. Every machine has them, even your domestic machines. And if you're not changing your needles, shame on you. You should be. Now I'm taking this old needle out. I'm going to chuck it out because we don't want it around and we don't want it available for us to pick up and reuse. And you'll notice that on some of the needles, if you've had it in for a while, that tip is just going to be blunt. And the more blunt it is, the harder time it's going to have going through your fabric, and so it's going to make holes. And we don't want holes in our beautiful quilts. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to pick up the one needle that I just took out of the package. Now, for me, it's easier for me if I get glasses. But for your sakes, I am not, okay? I'm going to make sure that as I hold it, I'm holding it between my little fingers. So the scarf right here is facing the back of the machine. and I'm going to put my pointer finger of my left hand right in that scarf. And then I'm going to put my thumb right over the front, and then it's positioned correctly so that when I take it over, I can hold it and slide it up and in. So I'm going to use my little magnet right here on this flat spot, right up here. Get that? All right, notice that it's at an angle. That means my eye is at an angle. And I want to turn it so it's nice and straight. Once this magnet is aligned horizontally, then I can take my little screwdriver here and start screwing in the screw. Now, another trick that I learned from the Sewing Lab, it's an awesome little trick, is they take a piece of paper as well, just to make sure that they have it lined and faced correctly, and they'll put that little piece of paper back behind. And that way you can see the little eye of the needle even better, and make sure that it's in nice and straight. So both of these two components, having a little paper back behind and the magnet, are really going to help you get your needles in nice and straight. And then you're going to want to do it more and more because your sewing will be that much smoother and better. Thanks for watching this first video in the series of videos on tension. We're going to be jumping onto our tension guide, a fabulous guide to help you along your journey into quilting. So join me coming up, and thanks for watching.